Welcome back, guys. So let's build the ultimate Zelda roller coaster. My name is Attacking Toucans, and in the last episode we built this Breath of the Wild theme room in the second floor of the castle. And today we are going to keep on pushing forward, and we're going to build the main body for this roller coaster that you find outdoors. And we're about to get pretty extreme. Although in this first Breath of the Wild themed room the coaster went pretty slow, it was pretty smooth, that was just to kind of get guests warmed up, because on the outdoor theme of this roller coaster, I want this to be one of our most thrilling coasters in the park so far. I want to have gigantic loops and corkscrews and twists and turns. It's going to be pretty freaking awesome. So once you exit out of the back of the castle, you're going to quickly go into an almost 90-degree drop. And I put some block brakes at the very top of the drop. Now what block brakes do is it holds the cart there until the other carts hit certain parts of the ride track. I kind of wanted to do this so it kind of adds anticipation before you enter the main scary part of the ride. And also adding block brakes to your roller coaster allows you to have more trains for your coaster. Now this coaster is going to be really long. Definitely the longest ride in the park. Just because there's going to be so many different sections since I want to have a lot of different theming. And so I'm going to need to add block brakes in order to add extra carts so people don't have to wait for a million years for the coaster to get through the whole entire ride before the other guests can get on. Because the other way to add a lot of carts to your coaster is by making a really long station that can hold a lot of different carts, but I don't have that much room to make that long of a station since I put the station inside of the castle. So block brakes are going to be our answer. And then after that, it goes into a giant loop, which I'm going to end up redoing in a bit because I wanted to make the loop a little bit larger. You kind of go too fast through the loop currently, and the G-force was a little bit too high, and I don't want people to feel like their guts are coming out of them when they're going through the roller coaster loop. And so I'm going to make that a little bit larger in the future, but we're going to still keep on pushing forward. Then it goes through a really large bank into a ginormous corkscrew I made, which kind of dips down into a valley. I'm going to end up creating a valley with a landscape a little bit more. Sort of like how Twilight Princess has some really cool valleys. And I'm going to be really inspired by Twilight Princess for the outdoor section of this ride. Just because in my opinion, I think Twilight Princess has one of the best overall landscapes out of any Zelda game. Just the terrain is really fun. I guess, no, I take that back. Breath of the Wild definitely has the best terrain. I don't know, I'm still really inspired by Twilight Princess. And now this is the point where I want to ask you guys for some ideas as to what I could put in this outdoor section of the ride. I don't want to have like an overall theme outdoors, but I do want to sprinkle in some Zelda references. So what are some things I could build in this outdoor area that would be great standalone references to Zelda games? Like nothing too big, but like just like something subtle, like I said. Some ideas I had in mind are from Breath of the Wild, because that's the game I've been streaming the most recently. I was thinking of making like a rock golem, because that would be pretty easy to make since there's so many rock options in the scenery pack. Or I was thinking about building the Temple of Time from Breath of the Wild that you see at the very beginning of the game that's sort of like half ruined. I think that'd be something else pretty cool to sprinkle in there. But if you guys have any more ideas, feel free to let me know in the comment section. Now the next thing I started doing is I started carving a giant hole into the side of this cliff. The coaster is going to go inside here, and we're going to put a dungeon inside. It's mostly going to be themed after the Shadow Temple. It's mostly going to be like a scary themed dungeon. Like I said, with like swinging scythes and boulders that chase you. I mostly want to take advantage of the adventure pack for that. And then at the very end, I'm also going to put a boss fight using some of the scenery. You guys will see what I do. There is this gigantic creature, like this I don't even know how to describe it. It has tentacles and stuff, and I'm going to spice it up to make a really cool Planet Coaster themed Zelda boss fight. Right here I took a quick second to go back to the station. I wanted to build the end of the roller coaster just so I could kind of figure out where I was going to have the end of the coaster like meet up with the end of the track. I have something in mind. I'm not going to really go into too much detail right here, but I decided to like just have the coaster go a little bit over the courtyard. I think it'd be kind of cool to see the coaster as you enter the ride, because most of the coaster is behind the castle, so I wanted the guests to be able to see at least a little bit of the coaster before they ride the ride. The next thing I'm doing here is, like I said earlier, I am recreating the loop, because the first loop was a bit too small. You went way too fast through it. I'm kind of switching it up by making a double loop. Kind of looks a little bit dilapidated at first, but don't worry, I go through and smooth it out and make it look a little bit more natural. And then, yeah, the second loop, because at first I had a hill right here, but I decided to make like a sideways loop. I'm not really too sure how you would describe it. I just love the coaster building in this game, though. Like, it's just so well thought out. Because in Roller Coaster Tycoon, whenever you built a coaster, you would just use predetermined track pieces and sizes. Like for turns, you had 3 different options. You had small turns, large turns, and very large turns. But Planet Coaster, there's no limits to anything that you can create. You can create any coaster you could possibly want. If you want to, you can make the coaster go into a barrel roll where it turns like 30 times in 1 second. They don't force you to not do things that are unrealistic, which I like games, I like sandbox games that don't limit you. Whenever a sandbox game limits you to make sure to enforce you that you create things that are realistic, I think that's a major downside, because sometimes you do want to do something a little bit out of the ordinary to create something. Even if it isn't completely realistic, it is a video game, and I'm glad they give you the creative freedoms to do that type of stuff in these games. Also, you notice me right here making this giant room for the temple as large as I possibly can. I wanted to just make it much larger than I needed, so that way I wouldn't have to be like constrained by any certain sizes, because I'm just gonna recreate like a building inside this giant hole. So it was kind of fun, like carving out the giant hole and then trying to place lights so it wouldn't be completely pitch black so I could see how large the hole was myself. This conversation right now sounds like it could be slightly suggestive, and I'm completely okay with it, honestly. I mean, when have I not been okay with that? Let's be honest. So again, you'll find me revising. I went and did a lot of revisions as I was building this coaster, because sometimes you build something and you're like, that could be done better. Who knows? I might go back and recreate everything that I just made this episode. That's very unlikely, but you never know. But I added an extra turn, like a big 360-degree turn, just so the coaster could lose a little bit of speed, because I wanted it to be able to slow down a little bit before we entered the temple. I'll probably add some trim brakes as well to make sure the speed, because I want people to kind of take in the atmosphere and stuff as they enter the temple, and then we'll have some crazy ass drops inside the temple too. You already know. But I ended up building a giant half loop that turned into a barrel roll right before you went inside the Shadow Temple. I might add a little bit more track before we go into the Shadow Temple, but this is kind of just what I decided on doing today, and I'm pretty okay with it. And also, I wanted to take a quick second to talk about the background music that I've been using for last episode and this episode. I've been using Breath of the Wild music since I built a Breath of the Wild section last episode, and honestly, I think Breath of the Wild music is the perfect background ambient music for a series like this. It has the Zelda tunes, but it's not overbearing. Like, it doesn't really distract from the commentary. It's like a really good, just peaceful, serene, calming background music, and I think it perfectly fits into a series like this. So whether or not I use other Zelda games music in the future, we'll have to see. What do you guys think? Should I continue just using Breath of the Wild music as the background, or should I still switch it between different Zelda games since we're making a overall Zelda themed coaster? I'm personally fine with either option. I don't mind the editing. It's worth it. So the next thing I'm making is I'm building a waterfall. So this is a new piece of scenery that they added to the Adventure Scenery Pack, is waterfall pieces. They're broken up into different pieces. There's the splashes on the water below. There's the waterfall stream. There's like the bubbling at the top of the waterfall. It allows you to put them all together and create really cool custom waterfalls. Now what I did is I put like a more harsh looking waterfall on the top half of the waterfall, because I'm going to put like a lot of rocks on the top half of the waterfall and make it look like the water is like tumbling and crashing through the rocks, and then the bottom half is just gonna free fall the rest of the way. I thought it might add like a cool like bit of realism, having like kind of the mixed match type of water stream. I don't know, we'll have to see. I'll probably place other waterfalls of different variety around this coaster, but I wanted to build waterfalls to connect the different bodies of water. And also, waterfalls are just beautiful. I mean, who doesn't like waterfalls? I mean, I wouldn't want to be underneath the waterfall, because that much water falling on top of your head would pretty much crush you, but staring at them from a distance is pretty nice. Some of my favorite waterfalls are the ones in Yosemite Park in California. You can like see them just across the mountain range. They're really long and skinny, but they just, there's something about them. They're just really special looking. It's a special little waterfall, as Bob Ross would probably say if he was painting one. And also, I went hiking at this place called Indian Creek, Arkansas last summer, and there was a lot of beautiful waterfalls along that hiking trail as well. just water is just so cool. I don't know why, just the viscosity, just how it just flows through things. It's just really interesting, and I love it just seeing it naturally in nature. Alright, then to finish off the episode, I still wanted to work on the castle a little bit more because I haven't been making much progress on the exterior of this castle. So I was making some walkways between the towers, the main tower and these side towers. Originally, I wanted these to be curved, but for some reason with wall pieces in Planet Coaster, you can only rotate them like from side to side in circles. You can't like rotate it in other directions, so you can't like curve them in weird ways and stuff. I'm hoping eventually they change this so you can make more curved structures. But right now, that's not really an option. So I had to just make some straight walkways. But I wanted to make them curves because in lots of Zelda castles, there is curved walkways and like structures. But couldn't really do this, so I had to settle. It's okay. As long as people get the gist of what this castle is, and as long as it still looks cool, I'm pretty sure that's all that should matter. And as I was recording the footage for this episode, I usually watch or like listen to podcasts or watch videos while I'm working on this stuff, because it does take a lot of time to make these episodes and like all the building. While I was working on this episode, I was watching some videos by Family Jules, who is a musician on YouTube. He's a rock musician. He just made a big Mario compilation with like 70 other YouTubers. It was insane, and he's actually going to be the person. I have a PAX East panel coming up this year, in April, next month, and he is going to be one of the 2 contestants who is going to be speedrunning Mario 64 for that panel. So I was watching some of his like Q&A stuff just so I could learn more about him, and it was just really cool. We have a lot in common actually with our music tastes. When it comes to rock music mostly. I mean, I have a very broad spectrum of music that I listen to. I listen to a lot more rap now, but a lot of the rock he listens to is very similar to me, which is really cool. And I'm really excited to be able to collaborate with him. Anyways, sometimes I like to talk about the things I was watching or listening to while I was building, because I think it's kind of interesting, especially when I watch the videos in the future. I'm like, oh, so that's what I was doing when I was creating that castle. It's just for the memories. I kind of view like doing a lot of my videos and stuff as kind of like a vlog. I don't do a daily vlog in the way that some YouTubers do when they film their life, but I talk about a lot of aspects about my life. So in a way, lots of my Let's Play videos are, for me, daily vlogs, and in the future, I'll be able to watch them and like kind of learn about what I was doing in my life. So that's like one of the cool things I like about Let's Playing. Like even if nobody watches my videos, it's still cool to just have, it's like a photo album for me, and I like it. It's like a photo album for all my life experiences and gaming experiences. This is great. So I'm adding some extra towers to this main tower because it looked a little bit too bland. It was a lot. It was really, really big, and I wanted to add a little bit more intricacy up here. So I added these little towers for the corners, and I think it makes it look way better. The exterior of this castle is just getting better and better, and I just plan to add more and more to it. In the next episode, I'm going to focus more on the interior of the castle again. Like I said, I'm going to switch between the exterior and interior. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll do a comment question. What are some of your favorite rock bands? Any genre of rock? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.